My parents spent my $60,000 college fund on my brother's wedding, a Rolex, and his honeymoon, but what I did next left them begging me for mercy. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. After high school, I assumed my parents would support my dream of becoming an automotive engineer. I'd been working part-time at Joe's garage since I was 15, saving every penny, but they told me I needed to grow up and start paying rent. Meanwhile, Tyler, my older brother, never paid a dime and spent his days gaming in our basement. I ignored the favoritism, thinking hard work would eventually earn their respect. Grandpa Joe had always been my rock. He promised me early on, "That college fund's yours, kid. I started it the day you fixed my old Impala." I believed him, why wouldn't I? He gave me the ledger once, showing the balance and updates. I tucked it away, trusting Mom and Dad to handle it. Years passed. I never imagined they'd touch that money, especially since they always said Tyler had his own separate plans. By sophomore year, things got rough. I was juggling full-time classes, weekend shifts, and late-night tutoring. I asked my parents for help, just $100 for textbooks. Dad scoffed, saying, "You're a man now, figure it out." That same week, they upgraded Tyler's gaming rig with a curved monitor and gold headset. I bit my tongue, telling myself to endure. But it stung watching him live carefree while I counted quarters for microwave meals. During winter break, I came home exhausted. My fingers were raw from detailing classic engines in the snow. Mom greeted me with a lecture about Tyler's wedding registry. "You better contribute," she said, waving a brochure for an engraved espresso machine. I laughed, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. Tyler didn't even have a job, yet somehow, I was expected to fund his honeymoon kitchen dreams. That night, I slept in the garage. A month later, I overheard Mom on the phone. She mentioned allocating Jake's college money for the wedding. My heart stopped. I confronted her, but she brushed it off. "You misheard, honey." I wanted to believe her. Maybe I did mishear, but something inside me twisted. Grandpa's fund was the only reason I hadn't dropped out. I tried to shake it off, but the seed of doubt took root. I started checking my bank balances daily. One night, I asked Dad outright if the fund was safe. He didn't meet my eyes. "Don't be ungrateful," he said. "We've housed you for years." That wasn't an answer. Tyler breezed in just then, laughing about his new rehearsal dinner reservation. I watched them high-five, and it made me sick. I texted Grandpa that night, casually asking if he had the fund's info. His reply came fast, "Still intact. Last I checked." Why my stomach flipped. Grandpa called me the next morning. I logged in. The account's empty, Jake. I nearly dropped my phone. He sounded angrier than I'd ever heard him. "Did you withdraw anything?" I choked on air. "No, sir," he muttered, something I couldn't make out. "Let me handle this," he finally said. That day, I skipped class and drove home. Tyler's engagement party was in full swing, music blaring. My parents were dancing like nothing had happened. I pulled Mom aside and asked where the money went. Her face flushed. "It was a family decision," she whispered, eyes darting. "Tyler needed a boost. His wedding is important." I couldn't breathe. "You mean more important than my education?" Her silence said everything. Dad joined us, smug as ever. "You'll be fine, Jake, you're resilient." That's when I realized they never intended to support me. I wasn't the favorite. I was the fallback plan. Tyler came over, drunk on attention. "Don't be dramatic, bro," he slurred. "You'll get over it." I clenched my fists. Grandpa walked in just then, holding the empty fund statement. "Linda, Robert, explain this." The party went silent. Dad tried to laugh it off. "We're family." Grandpa didn't flinch. "You stole from Jake." Tyler tried to interject, but Grandpa snapped. "Not a word from you." The tension was thick, like engine smoke before a blowout. Dad stammered something about temporary borrowing. Mom nodded quickly. "We meant to repay it after the wedding." Grandpa's voice dropped. "That money was locked. You forged my signature." Gasps circled the room. I didn't know that part. My knees wobbled. Tyler rolled his eyes, muttering, "It's not that serious." Grandpa shoved the statement into Dad's chest. 30 days to return every cent or I go to the police." For once, Dad didn't have a comeback. After the party, I sat with Grandpa in the garage. He lit a cigar, hands trembling. "You deserve better, Jake." I nodded, too tired to cry. "They chose Tyler's image over your future." He placed a ring of keys in my hand, his shop keys. "It's yours now. Let's build something better." For the first time in weeks, I exhaled. I didn't need their validation. I had purpose, tools, and someone who never stopped believing. Grandpa returned with legal documents. "Forgery carries jail time," he warned my parents. I stayed silent beside him, watching Mom tremble. Dad stayed cocky. "You wouldn't press charges." But Grandpa had already contacted his lawyer. Tyler was pacing now, his phone buzzing nonstop. His fiancée Melissa had seen the drama online. "She says the wedding's off," he muttered. Mom started to cry. I felt nothing. I just turned and walked out. That was my closure. 2 days later, Tyler showed up at Grandpa's garage. He reeked of booze. "You ruined everything," he slurred, throwing a wrench across the floor. I blocked the entrance. "Get out," he lunged, fists flying, but Grandpa grabbed a tire iron and barked. "Touch him and I call the cops." Tyler stumbled back, eyes bloodshot. "She dumped me because of you," I laughed bitterly. "No, she dumped you because you're a fraud," he left in silence. Mom texted me a week later, "Can we talk?" I ignored it. Then came a voicemail, her sobbing. Flaming Dad, claiming she had no choice. I saved it, just in case. Grandpa and I focused on the garage, turning wrenches and painting the new sign, Whitman Restorations. The first customer rolled in a dusty S67 Camaro. As I examined the engine, I finally felt peace. My parents' silence became my freedom. The garage became my sanctuary. Word spread fast. Neighbors came by, some dropping off cars, others just to shake my hand. They'd heard about the scandal and chose sides. Most backed Grandpa. Some still believed Mom's version it was a misunderstanding. But I didn't bother correcting them. Truth didn't need defending anymore. One afternoon, Grandpa handed me the original fund ledger. "Keep it," he said. "Proof of who you are." I framed it, hung it above the workbench like armor. Melissa stopped by the garage. She looked different, calmer. "I called off everything," she said. Hands clenched. "Your parents tried to guilt me into staying," said Tyler would spiral. I wiped my hands on a rag. "That's not your problem anymore," she nodded. Tears brimming. "I should have listened when you warned me." We shook hands. At that moment mattered. It wasn't romantic, it was closure. Two people choosing not to carry guilt that wasn't theirs to bear. That weekend, Grandpa hosted a barbecue at the shop. Old friends, neighbors, even a few of my classmates showed up. No one mentioned my parents. They just talked engines, ate burgers, and laughed. I stood back, greasy hands on my hips, watching the crowd. I wasn't invisible anymore. I was respected, known. Grandpa raised a toast to family by choice. I nodded, eyes burning. For the first time in years, I felt like I belonged. One night, I found an envelope taped to the garage door. Inside was a photo of me as a toddler, sitting on Dad's shoulders. No note, just that image. It shook me. Was it an apology, a manipulation? Grandpa said nothing but took it. "Burned it in the shop's furnace. We don't need ghosts here," he said. I nodded. Some memories are poison dressed as nostalgia. I'd rather build new ones, real ones covered in engine grease. Tyler tried one last stunt. He filed a police report claiming Grandpa assaulted him. But Grandpa had security footage, Tyler lunging, Grandpa backing off. Cops watched the tape and laughed him out the door. "You've got a record now," I told him. Tyler spat on the sidewalk and swore revenge. I didn't flinch. He looked smaller now, like a boy playing villain. "Throw up, Tyler." I shut the garage door in his face and locked it. Grandpa started teaching me restoration secrets, welding techniques, wiring tricks, things he said he never even taught my dad. "You've earned this," he said, handing me a battered wrench. Built my first engine with it. My chest tightened. That wrench meant legacy. Every evening, I stayed late at the shop, soaked in grease and joy. The betrayal still ached, but each bolt turn was a step toward healing. I wasn't fixing cars, I was fixing myself. Late one night, I checked the shop's voicemail. A message from Mom: "We're selling the house. Tyler's in debt again. Can we stay with you?" I stared at the phone, heart pounding. Not once did she say sorry. Just another request, another handout. I deleted the message. Grandpa glanced up from under a hood. "Asking nothing, just spam," I muttered, and it was emotional spam, unwanted, toxic, and familiar. I chose silence, that was my answer. Business picked up faster than expected. A local magazine featured us, family heirlooms rebuilt in steel. Grandpa framed the article. Grinning, "Told you we'd make him eat," their words. Clients came from 3 towns over, dropping off rust buckets and leaving with dreams. Every thank you note taped to the wall reminded me I was no longer a shadow in my own life. I was building something real. Not just for me, but for every kid overlooked. Grandpa surprised me with the certificate ownership papers. The garage was legally mine. "You earned it," he said, eyes misty. "Just promise me one thing, never let them back in." I nodded. Not a chance. That night, I stood in the shop alone. Lights dimmed, fingers grazing the tool bench. It was mine, all of it. The legacy, the freedom, the story, forged from betrayal, sealed with grease and held together by the man who never left. 2 months later, I got a letter from a debt collector addressed to Grandpa, but tied to my name. Confused, I called. Turns out Dad had opened a credit card in my name years ago, maxed it, and never paid. Now, they wanted payment. I felt the blood drain from my face. Grandpa was livid. "We settled this now." We drove to the agency with paperwork, dates, and proof. It was the beginning of another war. The agency rep flipped through the documents, then frowned. "This signature, it's not yours." I leaned in. "It was a sloppy attempt at my name forgery," Grandpa said sharply. The rep nodded. "Filing a fraud report. We'll flag it. You won't be liable." Relief flooded me. But anger simmered. They hadn't just stolen my future, they tried to stain my credit. This ends now, I whispered. Grandpa nodded. Then let's hit them where it hurts legally. Grandpa's lawyer helped us file a formal complaint. Fraud, identity theft, and misuse of funds, 3 charges tied to Mom and Dad. We delivered notice through a process server. Tyler opened the door and turned pale. What's this? He muttered. Accountability, I said. Social media picked it up. Suddenly old neighbors. Even Dad's clients were talking. That's the guy who robbed his own kid. For once, I didn't hide. I watched their house shrink in silence. Tyler posted a video online crying, begging for forgiveness. We're still family, he said, blaming our parents for everything. It backfired. Comments shredded him. You lived off him for years. You're no victim. He deleted the video within hours. I didn't respond. That silence again was power. Grandpa watched it once, then shrugged. You reap what you sow. The tide had turned. No more excuses. No more lies. I wasn't just surviving, I was winning. One truth at a time. Out of nowhere, I got an email from an investigative podcast. Heard your story, interested in a feature. Grandpa was skeptical, but I agreed. The episode aired, raw and unfiltered. We talked betrayal, resilience, and the garage. Listeners flooded our inbox, some sharing their own family scars, others offering support. One woman donated a lift for the shop, another drove 6 hours for an oil change. That podcast didn't just tell my story, it stitched a community. The podcast buzz reached a local college. They offered me a scholarship, not just any, but one honoring Trey's DePaul who rebuilt from adversity. No strings attached, the email read. I stared at it, stunned. Grandpa hugged me tight. Told you good things come from junk. I accepted, not just for the degree, but for the symbol. The world wasn't just watching, it was responding. And for once, opportunity came from truth, not bloodline. I earned every word. Dad finally showed his face. He came to the shop, empty hands, hollow eyes. I lost my job, he mumbled. Thought maybe I could help out here. Grandpa laughed out loud. Help? You helped yourself to 60 grand? I said nothing, just pointed to the no trespassing sign. He looked smaller than I remembered, like a ghost begging entry. Please. He whispered. I shook my head. Some doors close forever. He walked away, and I didn't flinch. I received an official notice. Dad was under ER's investigation. Turns out, he'd been funneling funds through my name for years, even claiming me as a dependent after I moved out. The fraud trail was long. Grandpa's lawyer handed the file to federal agents. You're doing the right thing, he said. But it still hurt. I hadn't asked for revenge, just justice. And justice, it turned out, came slow, heavy, and wrapped in manila folders. One Sundays, I visited the old family house, boarded windows, overgrown lawn, foreclosure notice taped crooked. The empire built on lies had crumbled. I didn't feel triumphant, just done. A neighbor saw me and waved. You did the right thing, Jake. I nodded, unsure what to say. Sometimes justice doesn't feel like victory, it just feels quiet. I walked away without looking back. That house wasn't home, it never was. The garage, that's where I belonged. A reporter showed up, notebook in hand. I'm writing on generational betrayal, she said. Mind if I interview you? I hesitated, but agreed. We talked for hours about loyalty, silence, rebuilding. The article ran front page, the son who refused to stay silent. Reactions poured in, some praised me, others attacked, but I'd faced worse. Truth was its own armor. Grandpa clipped the article, framed it under the ledger. You're not just surviving, he said. You're remembered. Melissa sent me a message, just one line. Thanks for helping me see them clearly. I stared at it a long time. Closure isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's a text that lets the past rest. I replied, you saved yourself. I just spoke up. She hearted it. That was all. No reunion, no drama, just peace between survivors of the same storm. Not all connections last, but some truths bind stronger than blood. We both moved forward. A customer rolled in with a wrecked Mustang. As I inspected it, I paused. VIN number looked familiar. It was Grandpa's old restoration, the one Tyler crashed. He'd sold it under a fake name to pay off debts. You sure you want to restore this? I asked. The man nodded. It's for my son's first car, I smiled. Full circle, I'd rebuild it not for Tyler, but for legacy, proof that broken things could still become beautiful. The restored Mustang was finished 6 weeks later, sleek, roaring, pristine. The buyer returned with his son, eyes wide. He's been saving for years. The man said. The boy ran his fingers along the polished hood. She's perfect. I handed him the keys, my chest tight. This was the future, new hands, new roads. Not everyone gets a fresh start. But today, I got to give one. Grandpa watched from the bay door. Proud, that's the work. Weeks later, I found a dusty journal in Grandpa's drawer. Inside notes, sketches, dreams he never chased. Too busy surviving, he once said. I spent nights reading every page. One entry struck me. Hope Jake never stops building. I wept quietly. That journal became my blueprint. I added a loft above the shop, his dream office. Not a shrine, but a promise. For every life stalled by betrayal, there's still room to restore, even dreams left in drawers. Grandpa's health began slipping, coughs lingered. Steps slowed to just rust in the pipes, he joked. But I saw the weight. He handed me the shop ledger one night. It's all yours now, front to back. My hands shook. Don't talk like that, he smiled, eyes tired. Legacy's not what you leave behind, it's what you build while you're here. I nodded, and I built hard, early mornings, late nights, every bolt tightened in his honor. Tyler sent one final message, a photo of our parents sleeping in a shelter. A single line, happy now? I didn't reply. I showed Grandpa, he stared, then tossed the phone aside. They made their bed, I nodded. Regret wasn't mine to carry. That photo wasn't a cry for help, it was a weapon. And I wouldn't let it wound me. I got back to work. Some stories don't get redemption, and some suns choose to walk on. A woman came to the shop with a dented pickup. She watched me work, eyes sharp. You Jake, she asked. I nodded. She introduced herself as a community college counselor. Heard your story? We need someone like you teaching. I blinked. Teach, she smiled. Kids who think they're worthless. Show them they're not. I said yes before fear could answer. It was time to pass on more than torque specs. It was time to pass on power. My first class was rough, kids staring, arms crossed. One boy asked, why should we listen to you? I showed them my hands, scarred, grease-stained. Because I've built more from nothing than most people with everything. That cracks something. By the end, 2 students stayed late to ask questions. Word spread. Next week, more came. Teaching wasn't just instruction, it was healing. For them, for me, I was no longer just a survivor. I was someone's first chance. The school invited me to speak at graduation. I stood behind the podium, palms sweating. Grandpa in the front row. You don't need to come from money to matter. I told them. You need grit, truth, and people who don't quit on you. Applause rose. I saw tears, nods, hope. Afterwards, a girl hugged me, whispering, you made me believe again. That moment meant more than any paycheck. I walked off stage taller than ever. A documentary crew reached out next. We want to show how healing looks in real time. The director said. I hesitated but agreed. Cameras rolled as I rebuilt an old Chevy start to finish. I told them everything: betrayal, justice, legacy. It aired nationwide. Letters came in from across the country. Kids sent photos of their first oil changes. One father wrote, you helped me reconnect with my son. The shop became a lighthouse. My pain resurfaced. Grandpa's cough worsened. Hospital visits replaced barbecues. One evening, I wheeled him into the garage. One last tour, he joked. We moved past each bay. Each tool he once touched. Promise me something, he whispered. Keep it honest. No shortcuts. I squeezed his hand. Always, he smiled, eyes glassy. Then you're already richer than most. That night, he passed peacefully in his sleep. I left the shop light on. Like he was still wrenching beside me. The funeral was small, just friends, neighbors, and the students he's inspired by extension. I spoke last. He didn't just fix cars, he fixed people. There wasn't a dry eye. Afterward, I reopened the garage under a new name, Whitman Sons. The sign had 2 silhouettes, one older, one younger. Clients noticed. He'd be proud, they said. I nodded, voice tight. The grief lingered, but so did the love, and every rebuilt engine was part of him. Months passed. I kept teaching, kept building. One day, a letter arrived. Grandpa had left me a small plot of land outside town. Start something bigger, the note said. I stood on that soil, wind in my hair, and saw it: a training center, scholarships, a space for underdogs to rise. I drew up blueprints that night. The garage was our beginning, that field our legacy. Grandpa planted seeds I hadn't even seen. Now I'd water them. Construction began the next spring. Volunteers showed up, students, clients, strangers who's heard the podcast. They painted, drilled, hauled lumber. One woman brought sandwiches daily. For the dream, she said. I work sunup to sundown. Blisters blooming, hope rising. The training center grew from foundation to framework in weeks. We named it the forge where lives are reforged. Not just metal. Grandpa's photo hung at the entrance. Smiling in black and white. This wasn't revenge. This was rebirth. Opening day arrived. Kids in coveralls. Parents cheering, news crews filming. I gave a tour, then handed the first student a wrench. This place is yours now, I said. The crowd clapped somewhere in the back. A woman wept. Melissa, she mouthed. Thank you, I nodded. Not for the past, but for the now, for the boys like me, the girls like her, for the broken and forgotten. The forge was opened, and healing had horsepower. 1 year later, I was invited to speak at a national trades conference. My name on a banner, Grandpa's quote behind me: no shortcuts. I told them everything: betrayal, grit, grease-stained redemption. Standing ovation. Afterwards, a woman approached. I was in the shelter with your parents, she whispered. They blame you, I smiled gently. That's how I know I did the right thing. Truth isn't always peace, it's the foundation you build on. My foundation was steel. An old teacher visited the shop. You were the quiet kid, he said, surprised. Didn't expect this. I laughed. Neither did I. You walked around, inspecting our work, nodding. You turned pain into purpose. That's rare. We talked until dusk. As he left, he turned back. Keep going, Jake. You're changing more than engines. That night, I stood alone in the garage, lights humming. He was right. This wasn't just repair, it was resurrection. One bolt at a time, a film student from my class approached. Can I document the forge? He asked. I said yes. Months later, he premiered it at a local film fest. The final scene showed me holding Grandpa's wrench, voiceover saying, he built more than cars. He rebuilt himself. The audience rose to their feet. The shop filled with letters, donations, mentorship offers. One viewer wrote, your story saved my son that night. I whispered to the photo. We did it. The forge expanded now with 3 lifts, a welding room, and a scholarship fund. We partnered with local shelters, offering training to displaced youth. One boy, Mateo, reminded me of myself. Quiet, angry, gifted. He rebuilt his first engine in 2 months. Best day of my life, he said. I handed him Grandpa's old manual. Now teach the next one. The cycle was set. The past didn't chain me anymore, it fueled something greater. The torch was officially passed. One afternoon, I got a letter postmarked from prison. Dad, you won, it read, but I hope someday, you understand. I didn't reply. I read it once, then filed it with the rest under closed. Understanding was an ode, not after fraud, lies, and silence. Grandpa once said, closure isn't dialogue, it's distance. That letter didn't shake me. It confirmed everything. I was free, and freedom, I'd learned, isn't forgetting, it's choosing what you bring with you. I chose nothing. The forge celebrated its 5-year anniversary with a block party, music, engines, grilled corn, the works. Kids showed off their projects. Parents thanked us with tearful hugs. I stood under the sun, watching lives I helped shape. Grandpa's wrench hung in the office, untouched, a symbol, not a tool. Someone asked, what's next? I smiled. Whatever they build. This was never just about redemption. It was about ignition of purpose, of legacy, of second chances, and we were just getting started. I walked into the garage early, sunlight pouring across the concrete. Grandpa's stool sat by the lift, untouched. I touched the ledger, feeling his presence in every ink line. We did good, old man, I whispered. The pain lingered, but it no longer led. That space, that silence, it was peace now, not absence, not loss. Just proof that healing takes time and leaves fingerprints on everything you build. I saw Tyler's name in the news, probation violation, theft again. I didn't feel rage, just distance, like watching an old car rust in a field. Some people stall out forever, and you don't jumpstart what doesn't want saving. I told a student, fix what wants fixing. They nodded. That was the lesson. I wasn't here to resurrect the past. I was here to hand tools to the willing. Melissa sent a wedding invite, her own finally. Healthy love. Built slow. I sent back a gift, a custom toolbox engraved with, may you fix together. She texted a photo, her husband beaming beside it. That felt like closure. Not in speech, but steel. We never needed revenge. Just freedom, that's the difference. And sometimes, healing is quiet, a gesture, a gift, a tool in the right hands. I looked at the ledger one last time and slipped it into a drawer. It had served its purpose. The kids didn't need my pain, they needed paths. That's what the forge was now, not a place of mourning. Alonpac's legacy isn't about echoing suffering, it's about building exits. And every spark, every starter click, it whispered the same thing: we are not what they broke. We are what we rebuild. News came that Dad was sentenced 2 years minimum, with restitution. He didn't fight it. Mom vanished from the radar. Tyler spiraled. But none of it touched me. The shop doors still opened each morning. The engine hum still filled my ears. Their downfall wasn't my victory. It was background noise. My win was every kid walking in broken and leaving stronger. That was justice. That was enough. I received a city award, Community Builder of the Year. Flashbulbs popped. I held the plaque high but said little. The real award wasn't the medal. It was the kid who hugged me after, whispering, I want to be like you. That hit harder than applause. Grandpa was right, legacy isn't loud, it's steady. It's built brick by brick. And I was just getting started. This wasn't the end. It was ignition. I sat in the loft one evening, overlooking the forge. Kids laughed below. Tools clanged. I opened Grandpa's journal again, rereading his sketch of the shop. It matched perfectly. We did it, I whispered. Not revenge, not restoration, reinvention. I closed the book for the last time, heartful. The past didn't win, we did. Through bolts and bruises, grief and grit, we built the kind of family we never had. The forge lights flickered off as I locked up. Stars bright above, I stood at the gate a moment longer. Breathing in oil, hope, memory. This wasn't just a garage, it was proof. Proof that betrayal doesn't end you choices do. I chose to rise, to rebuild, to hand someone else the keys when mine were stolen. Grandpa's voice echoed in my head, drive it like it's yours. And I did, every single day. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe to check out more stories on my channel.